If you clicked on this video, you most definitely know that sim racing is one of the fastest growing industries in the world. To be very nerdy with you, it's growing at an annual rate of 13.1%. That's pretty crazy. And with so many different trinkets and different things that you could put on your simulator and buy for your simulator that are coming onto the market seemingly every single day, it's hard to pick what you should prioritize or even buy. Maybe you want another wheel, a handbrake, a fancy button box, some RGB lights, whatever it may be. So today, I'm gonna be telling you the 5 upgrades you need to get for your racing simulator. No BS, straight to the point, the 5 things you must get. So why should you listen to me when there are dozens of other people telling you what to do and what to buy? Well, I've been sim racing for over 10 years. And if there's one thing I've learned over that period of time, it's that sim racing isn't just plugging a few things in and going and playing a little game. You're trying to emulate an experience as close to real life as possible. And you're trying to extract as much out of that racing simulator to make you go faster. To use it as a tool and not use it as a toy. There's so many nuances and different properties within your simulator that you can extract to make it as good as possible. You can almost call it an art form, but not in the Subway calling their sandwich makers sandwich artists. More so in a way to make what seems like a toy into an actual tool. Something where it's actually enjoyable and feels like you're driving in a car. And even to make it better to show off and utilize in your home shop or wherever you want to put it. Okay, let's cut to the chase. Here are 5 things you need to upgrade on your racing simulator. Number 1 is a hydraulic brake pedal. This little doohickey is the SimMagic PHYS. And essentially what this does, replace your brake pedal on your SimMagic P1000s, and it takes it from a load cell brake pedal to a hydraulic brake pedal. A hydraulic brake pedal is what race cars have. Your tilt-in pedal boxes, which you could actually get on the sim thanks to Tech, and your actual road vehicle uses a hydraulic brake pedal. It uses hydraulic fluid along with your braking mechanism. This is a very affordable option in order to get into that hydraulic brake range. Getting this upgrade in a set of P1000s can be as low as $629. Because as I said before, you can get actual tilt-in pedals, so a pedal box that you get out of, say, a Porsche race car, and put it on your racing simulator thanks to companies such as Tech. And I'll link that down below so you can check it out because it's pretty cool. And that's gonna be as close to the real thing. Now, I know there are active pedals, and yes, that is great technology, and it's technology that's never been seen before and is super innovative. In my opinion, the most realistic feel is gonna be a tilt-in pedal with 2-way hydraulics, different bushings, brake tensioners, all that good stuff. So this was number 1. So this is our first of 5. So a hydraulic brake upgrade is your first of 5 upgrades. And coming in at number 2 is monitors, either a widescreen or triple screen monitors. Unless you have shakers or motion, the only thing you could feel in your sim is your hands, and you can only see with your eyeballs. So that's why I feel like monitors and how you see into the virtual world is so important. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why aren't you saying VR? Why are you saying monitors? Well, to put it frankly, VR is not reliable. It still has a lot of issues, especially on games that aren't optimized, like Assetto Corsa. iRacing, yes, it's a lot better on VR than it is Assetto Corsa, but you still have issues, especially when you get into lobbies with a lot of cars. If you're racing with a lot of cars online, it is more than likely your VR headset is going to start dropping frames, aka you're gonna start having your world stutter. And there's really no workaround this. No matter how powerful of a PC you get, no matter how good of a VR headset you get, there's really no workaround. Now, I'm not hating on VR. I really do hope it will get figured out, because once it's super reliable, that's what everyone's gonna use. Because if you never tried a VR headset, you definitely should. It's a game changer when it comes to racing. You can't use it because of how unreliable it is. So that's why I would go with either a widescreen monitor or triples. Now you might be saying, yes, but even though we have those issues, VR is so good because of how immersed you are. but you could have that same immersion with properly set up monitors. And we're probably going to be releasing a video here within the next month on how to set up proper FOV and not feel like you're driving at either warp speed or you can't have any sense of speed on your monitor. Or shameless plug, we reconfigure sims now and we tune them. So if you're in the Atlanta area, we'll happily fix your sim for you. Anyways, back to the point, what should you go with, widescreen or triples? Well, that's really all dependent on space. A widescreen monitor, anywhere from a 34-inch all the way up to a 57. The max footprint it'll take up is a 5 feet long by about 6.5 foot wide, maybe 7 foot if we're pushing with the 57. And then when it comes with widescreens, I like to start at either 32-inch or 34 ultra wides. Why 34 ultra wides? Quick tangent, you want to have as much immersion as possible, right? So you want to see into the world as much as possible. Yes, the height on the 34 is a little lower, but you get more wraparound, right? More immersion. That's why I like it. Anyways, I'd start at a 32 or a 34-inch triple screen, all the way up to 55-inch Samsung Odyssey Arcs. The most common sizes are 32 or 34, and then 45s, and then 55s. So for the 32/34 triples, your footprint is gonna be about 5 feet by 7-ish feet. And then the 45s is gonna go up to about 10 feet. And then the 55s go all the way up to a 5, and we keep it safe with 13 to 14 feet. So the triples, of course, take up a lot of space. And if space is your issue, say you're getting a rig for, say you're getting a simulator in your apartment and you have to put it in a little corner, 34 triples is what I'd go with. But if it really can't fit, a widescreen will still give you a very immersive experience. And coming in at number 3 is an aluminum profile cockpit, AKA an aluminum profile chassis. The thing I'm sitting in right now. It's 2024. If you don't got one of these, you're pretty wrong. What I'm sitting in right now is an Extreme Sim Racing AX80, a pretty solid aluminum profile chassis. 80mm extrusion, perfect for like a 10 to 15 Newton meter wheel, and it has a lot of upgrades that you could do, such as this TV stand, shifter mount, whatever it may be. And to give a brief overview of aluminum profile chassis, I actually made a video explaining what the differences are. I'll put it right here. There are 3 primary categories, and it all goes by the thickness of aluminum. An 80mm extrusion, 120mm extrusion, 160mm extrusion. And it usually has some form of branding in front of it. So if it was Boundless Racing, BR80, BR120, BR160. An aluminum profile rig keeps everything nice and tidy, but most importantly, it's rigid. These things are pretty much indestructible unless you push it off a building, which I don't know why you do that, but you probably shouldn't. There's no flex, no crazy things that are gonna happen. It's all business. Now, going back to the 3 thicknesses, right? Your 80 is gonna be the lowest, 120 is the middle, 160 is the highest. When you start to add, say, motion onto your simulator, this 80 mil, it's strong, but it's not good enough for that, because along with your wheelbase and the motion, you might start to get some flex. So the thinnest extrusion I would go with for motion is 120 mil. And then the thickest is pretty much handling anything. You throw motion at it. You could put a SimiCube 2 Ultimate wheelbase on here, which is a 32 Newton meter wheelbase, and it will be just fine. So it really depends what you add, right? So this is a 15 Newton meter SimMagic Alpha, no flex. But if I had motion, active pedals, a more powerful wheelbase, you know, a bunch of added stuff, I'd probably go with a 160. And that's what you should gauge everything on, right? A 160, just no motion, it's great. You're gonna have 0 problems. It really just depends on what you want to go with. They're all sturdy, it's just use case. Anyways, let's move to the next upgrade. Now we jump to number 4, a good, comfortable seat. Now, you might be wondering, why is a seat an upgrade? Well, if you're like me, I can spend upwards of hours in my racing sim. And if you have iRacing, and if you're as competitive as me, you'll spend hours trying to get your iRating up and to get into the next class. For most, a seat like this, the Extreme Sim Racing XT Premium seat, is going to be fantastic for you. And a great alternative for this, it's a little more expensive, is a Sparco R333. Both very similar designs. It's very comfortable and relatively inexpensive. It's made entirely out of leather, a little bit of Alcantara, but the main part of it is it's very cushiony and you can recline in it. Just like this office chair I'm in, right? I could sit here and work for hours. And that same chair allows you to sit and race for hours. Unless you have motion on your sim, a bucket seat is not necessary. Yes, you should still get one because it's cool, but it's not necessary, and usually they're gonna be a bit more expensive. Sure, there are some cheap options out there, but very much in the sim racing world, you pay for what you get. The bucket seat is not only a necessity for keeping you in place in a motion sim, but really gives you that immersion. And it's really got that wow factor. Like, oh sick, that's a cool racing sim because it's got a bucket seat in it. So if you do want a bucket seat, from personal experience, please buy a Recaro. They make the best car seats, period. Best quality, best comfort, no questions asked, best seats all around. This is my personal sim rig, and this is a Recaro pole position, an SFI certified Recaro pole position. Is it overkill? Yes, but this seat is so comfortable. I could sleep in this thing. The only issue I see with this seat is that it's $1,800. That's crazy, I know. Now, they have their Recaro SimStar, which is a very similar design to the pole position. It's a little bit different, but very similar design, still a bucket seat, still a Recaro, and it's less than $1,000, and it's equally as comfortable. And again, unless you have motion, it's not a necessity. So before we get to our last point, which is inherently our most important point, I have to give some honorable mentions. And we'll of course mention haptics, aka shakers, and motion. Yes, you should get those, but our top 5 aren't those because A, everyone says them, and B, the solutions for motion is super expensive and is out of reach for probably 80% of sim racers out there. You're looking at your cheapest high quality set, which is a Cubic System QS210, it's still $6,500. So here's the 30-second rundown on why you should get motion and haptics. It's because the one thing that you lose, which is super important when driving a car, is G-forces and the feeling in your butt. Slip, all that good stuff, you lose it. Your sense of speed and direction is eliminated. And with shakers, you get a little more haptic feel. So when you go over curbs or you brake, you can get a little bit of vibration. It's essentially, right, Butt Kicker makes something very similar to that sort of thing. Butt Kicker makes a product that is a shaker. It's essentially just a subwoofer that tracks where you're at on track and vibrates your sim rig. That's a cheaper alternative. However, it's not as good as real motion. But again, the cheapest motion system is $6,500, but it just takes everything to a whole new level. And Cubic System has also come out with their belt tensioner, which is super cool. And in the next few weeks, we're gonna get our hands on one because that gives you that feeling of G-forces. And the belt tensioner will pull you back and let you forward on braking just like an actual car, which is super cool. So motion is very worth it, but we could talk about this all day. My last point is a lot of people crank their motion where they use every single inch of the actuator to push forward. It can be kind of obnoxious. So that's my last little bit on motion. So let's move on to our final point. And last but not least, coming in at number 5 is going to be your most important upgrade, a direct drive wheelbase. You need a good direct drive wheelbase. Since 2020, thanks to Fanatec and the CSLDD, these magnificent pieces of kit have become affordable. For context, before 2020, if you wanted a direct drive wheel, which to get nerdy for a second, usually in wheelbases that aren't direct drive, gear driven, belts is a series of belts and gears within the wheel. This is just a motor, right? This is a midge motor, just to get specific, right? And it drives a shaft, right? Which is your steering column, aka direct drive. It's just one motor that goes up to the shaft and you steer it. Most direct form of steering, most amount of precision, etc., etc. Before 2020, direct drives you'd usually get them from hobby shops, like the first Simucube or AccuForce. Bet you haven't heard that in a while, and if you do, you're an OG. Or the Fanatec DD1 or DD2. If you wanted a direct drive wheelbase, you'd be shelling out at least $1,500. And that doesn't include, you know, your quick release, the wheel, all that good stuff too. So you're spending an arm and a leg on your wheelbase. This is fantastic. It's just a motor, shaft, that's it. And a lot of them are a lot more affordable, but you need to be careful because you get what you pay for. Because there's so many budget options, there's so many cheap things with such high expectations and promises. You gotta do your research and you gotta make sure you purchase the correct thing. For example, this is a 15 Newton meter SimMagic Alpha. For retail, it goes for $769. That may seem expensive and more expensive than some of its competitors, but the amount of precision, the amount of feedback, and just how good this wheelbase is, it's well worth the extra price that you might get from one of its competitors. And then Simucubes, that's gonna be twice the price of this for a Simucube 2 Pro, specifically $1,380. You get 10 Newton meters more of torque, so you get more torque, more precision, and more advanced software. Both give a great experience, but again, you get what you pay for. So doing a little bit of research, understanding what's good, what's bad, the different terminology, that would be good. And we'll probably release a video in the coming weeks just explaining what you should look for with a direct drive wheel. Bottom line, get a direct drive wheel. You won't regret it. As a recap, your next 5 upgrades in order should be a direct drive wheelbase, an aluminum profile rig, a comfy seat, better monitors, and a hydraulic brake pedal. If you want more sim racing tips and content, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel because we're gonna be producing a lot more content. And if you are interested in any turnkey racing simulators, check out our website down below. We build simulators for a freaking living, so we kind of know what we're talking about. That, of course, was sarcasm for those who didn't understand. We do know what we're talking about. And make sure to also subscribe to our newsletter because we will be releasing products, that's right, products in stock shipped within the US that you normally can't get here in the coming weeks. So there's a lot of big stuff coming up with Boundless Racing. I'm super excited. I've been working tirelessly trying to make things happen. So stay tuned. If you have any criticism, if you have any comments, leave it down below. With that said, thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.